Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel, and today we are going to continue with history of class 10 chapter number 1. The name of the lesson was The Rise of Nationalism in Europe. And this is the 10th video and the last video of this series, and earlier we have already done 9 videos, and all these earlier videos are available in the playlist. You can just go and watch them one more time. And this lesson has been a long lesson, and it has been through a lot of changes. Why? Because we saw the unification of Italy and Germany and Britain, and we also understood different aspects. So this unfolded in different stages. So now the last two topics are left, and number 5 topic will be visualizing the nation. So here you got the idea: visualize to see something, to portray something, to project something, and how to project the nation. Now if it is a person, we can show the picture, but how can you project a nation? So here you can see the picture of Marion. It is the postage stamp of 1850, and Marion was actually representing the Republic of France. So here the idea of presenting the nation as a human being, as a person, as a personified entity is the main topic of this visualizing the nation. So let's read. While it is easy enough to represent a ruler through a portrait or a statue, how does one go about giving a face to a nation? So it's a very big question. Why? Because we don't have any idea of how to give a face to a country or a nation, because after all, a nation is a geographical area, it's a territory, and you cannot give any face. So here we come to know these earlier. Suppose this is a country, and this is how the country is formed, geographical nation. So you cannot give any face to that kind of particular nation or entity like that. So here this responsibility or this idea came to the minds of the artists in the 18th and the 19th centuries. They found a way out by personifying a nation. So as we can personify or give some personal attributes, some human qualities or attributes to a non-living thing. So in other words, they represented a country as if it were a human being or a person. So nations were then portrayed as female figures. So why female figures? Because like a mother, like in the earlier chapter that we had done, that is the Bharat Mata. So here Bharat Mata, where our country has been represented as a mother. So here also we come to know that nations were often portrayed as your female figures, and the female form that was chosen to personify the nation did not stand for any particular woman in the real life. But you'll never find the picture how the nation has been presented. That kind of woman you will never find in real life, because there is no woman like that. And rather it sought to give the abstract idea or the presentation of the nation in a concrete form. So just by looking at the picture of a particular woman as what you can say Bharat Mata or Germania or Marion, it gives the idea that this is the country, this is our country, and the respect comes towards that country. That is why the female figure became an allegory of the nation. So here you will find the meaning of allegory at the end of the page. So here the female figure has been presented as a personalized and also personified form of a country. So let us see some other things also were personified earlier. Like if you recall that time that during the French Revolution, artists used the female allegory to portray ideas like liberty. In the very first page you saw the Statue of Liberty, and it's a woman and she is holding a torch and the charter of the rights of man. And justice also, we can see the picture of justice, the presentation of justice even now also in courts, where a blindfolded woman is holding weighing scales, and the republic. These all were presented as the female figures. These ideals were represented through specific objects and symbols. As you would remember, the attributes or qualities of liberty are the red cap, that is independence, or the broken chain, that means I earlier they were slaves, now the chains are broken, that means they have become independent, and that is the meaning of liberty. While justice is generally a blindfolded woman who is carrying a pair of weighing scales, which shows that justice does not see anyone who is a relative, who is a friend, but it is blindfolded. Why? Because only on the basis of weighing the evidence on the scales a person will be given guilty or not guilty. So this kind of female figures and allegories were invented by the artist in the 19th century to represent the nation also similarly. So In France, like we come to know about the country of France. In France, the country of France, that is, she is mentioned here. She means here France was Christian. Christian means renamed as Marian. It was a popular Christian name which refers to the mother of Mary, mother of Jesus Christ, that is Mary, Marian, and which underlined the idea of a people's nation. And as it is a popular Christian name, and that is why the people, the different kinds of the people got associated to it, and they looked towards their country with respect. Her characteristics or attributes were drawn from those of liberty and the republic. That is, they gave her the red cap and the tricolor, that is the color of France, that is red, blue, and white, and the cockade, it's a kind of ribbon which is put, and feathers which is put on the head of a hat. And statues of Marian were erected in the public squares to remind the public of the national symbol of unity. So here we see the red cap, the tricolor, and the cockade, where the representation, the symbols where we refer to as Marian. And this showed that their people were trying to create an identity of the nation in the form of a female allegory or figure. So these people were reminded that this is the symbol of unity, and red cap and the tricolor and the cockade, this cap and the hat and the ribbon, and to persuade them to identify with it, and they were persuaded that you also associate with it. And Marian images are even marked on coins and stamps. You can see on the very first page only. Here you can see in the beginning. So here allegory, also we come to know about Germania. So similarly, Germania became the allegory of the German nation. In visual representations, you will find a Germania wears a crown of oak leaves, as the German oak stands for heroism. So this is the picture of Germany. Here you can see on the right side that she is holding even a sword, and she is holding the flag of the colors of German flag. And also we come to know she is holding oak leaves also. Allegory's meaning is given there. You can read it here, that the abstract idea like greed, envy, liberty, etc., expressed to a person or thing. So let us see one more time at the picture. This is the picture of Germania, and these are the different symbols that you can read by yourself. This is the fallen picture of Germania. This is another picture of Germania, the controlling or guarding the Rhineland. So these all are symbolism. You can read it and you can understand it by yourself. So now let us go to the last topic, that is lesson 1, topic number, unit number 6, nationalism and imperialism. So, what is nationalism and imperialism? By the last quarter of the 19th century, nationalism no longer retained its idealistic, liberal, democratic sentiment of the first half of the century, but it became a narrow creed with the limited end. So, here we mean that nationalism means love for the country and you have a feel towards the country, and imperialism is that kind of colonialism, or the stronger country dominates or controls the other local countries which they invade or which they try to control under them. So, here we come to know that by the time the 19th century had started, last quarter of the 19th century, this idea of nationalism was no longer related with like liberalism and you are democratic. No, these all changed and it became a narrow creed or idea with limited ends. Why? Because during this period, many nationalist groups became increasingly intolerant of each other. They began to go against each other, fight against each other, and many parties began to go even to war, and even countries also were against each other. As you know, even our country also was under the imperialistic rule of the British. So not only British, the French, the other Dutch also tried to control us. The major European powers in turn manipulate the nationalist aspirations of the subject peoples in Europe to further grow their own imperialistic aim. So here what we come to know, the European powers tried to manipulate the minds of the people. They said that if you are really a lover of the country, then you will go and control other country, and if you really love your country, then you will be a controller of the other countries that are the colonies of our country. So in this way they were like, they are manipulated to go to the other countries, and just for improving their own power and their own imperialistic aim, their own countries territory should be extended. In this way they tried to manipulate the minds of the subject people, and they also were like blind, and they believed the rulers or the leaders. So the most serious source of such kind of nationalist tension in Europe after the year 1871 was the area called the Balkans. So now what was the Balkans area? The Balkans was a region of the geographical and ethnic variation. So many different geographical areas were there, and ethnicity, different communities, religious culture were there. And they now presently, if you see where is Balkan, present day you will find Romania, Bulgaria, Albania, Greece, Macedonia, Croatia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Slovenia, Serbia, Montenegro. These all places are there now that countries have come up. But at that time, all these areas were known as the Balkans, and inhabitants or the people those who were living in those areas were known as slaves. So the Slavs or slaves were a large part of the Balkan region, and the large part of the Balkans were under the control of the Ottoman Empire, that is the Muslim Empire, Ottoman Empire. Now, the spread of the ideas of the romantic nationalism in the Balkans, together with the disintegration of the Ottoman Empire, made the region very exclusive. If you remember, the Greek War of Independence had started, and during that time, the Greeks had fought against the Ottoman Empire, and after that, the 1832 Constantinople, it got separated from Greece, and after that, other countries also tried to follow them, follow Greeks, and they tried to disintegrate. So what we come to know, all through the 19th century, the Ottoman Empire had sought to strengthen itself, make it strong, the Balkan area, through modernization and internal reforms, changes within the country, but with very little success. But they could not do. Why? Because all of them were very, very exclusive and were fighting regions with each other. All the regions were fighting with each other. One by one, its European subject nationalities or countries broke away from its control and declared independence. So one by one, following Greece, all the other countries that were under the Ottoman Empire decided to go against the Ottoman Empire and declared independence. And the Balkans, the areas or the Balkan peoples. Why? Because so many different kinds of culture and language was there. That is why they based their claims for independence and political rights on nationality, and they said that we had our ancient history, we had our history to prove that they had once been independent, and we were always independent, but we had been subsequently been subjugated or controlled and dominated by the foreign powers later on, like the Ottoman Empire. So now we must be free from the Ottoman Empire, and hence the fighting against nationalities in the Balkans thought of their struggles as attempts, as different kinds of trial to win back their long lost independence. They thought we are going to get our independence by fighting against the Ottoman Empire and making our country independent. As you know, the different countries came up there, and as the different Slavic nationalities, small countries came up, and they all struggled to define their identity and independence. They all began to say that we are independent, this is our area, and they tried to take more and more area under their control. And at that time, the situation became like that. The Balkan area became an area of intense conflict. There was a great fight, and when the Ottoman Empire or the emperor was also not there to control. Why? Because they all had declared themselves independent. So the Balkan states were fiercely jealous of each other, and each of the states hoped to gain more territory at the expense of the others. So every state wanted that, every country wanted that, we want more territory, and that is why, because of land, because of territory, they began to fight with each other, and it was a highly exclusive area. Matters were further complicated. Why? Because the Balkans also became the scene of the big power rivalry. Very soon, this small kings fighting, small areas were fighting. At that time, some big powers, some big European powers, like the countries like Europe and what you can say, Britain and France and Germany, all these also started to put their kind of interference in these areas. And that is why they wanted that during this period there was intense rivalry among the European powers over trade and colony. More and more trade business they wanted. Like, you know, our East India Company was also there. They tried to do business with us first, and after that colony was established, and slowly they tried to help them and establish colonies, as well as naval, that is the navy, army, and military might also they wanted to increase. These rivalries were very evident in the way the Balkan problem unfolded, and each power like Russia, Germany, England, Austro-Hungary, these was very strong, and they were very big power. They were keen on countering the hold of the other powers over the Balkan. Each of them wanted we should be more powerful, and they supported small countries and extending its own control over the area. And this kind of explosive series of wars in the region started, and finally, the first world war started in the year 1914. So this is what we come to know because of the big power rivalry. This is a picture which shows the map of the British Empire. Here you can see all the areas that are orange in color under British. So that is a very big example of colonialism and imperialism. So nationalism became aligned with imperialism. That means if you love your country, that means you must support the government to take control of other countries. So which is in fact imperialism. So when these two ideas got mingled or mixed with each other, this led Europe to a disaster in 1914, and the First World War started. Many soldiers went that we are fighting for the country, but actually it was nothing but a war for the territory, for the geographical land. But meanwhile, many countries were there in the world which had been colonized by the other European powers in the 19th century. They began to oppose the imperial domination, like our country also. They began to feel that why we should be dominated by the other countries, and that is why the the anti-imperial movements, all these people, those were against the British and against the French and other colonial governments, that movement developed against them, and it was known as anti-imperial movement that developed everywhere, where all nationalists, in the sense that they will struggle to form independent nation states, are inspired by a sense of collective unity, and they say that we are all together, we must be fighting together as one nation state, and they were inspired by that we all should be forged in confrontation with imperialism. So it doesn't matter we are from this region or that region, we are from this religion, that religion, our enemy are who? The colonialist, and we must go against the imperialist. So this is what the European ideas of nationalism were nowhere replicated or copied, but our people everywhere developed their own specific variety of nationalism. They had their own idea of nationalism that grew in the minds of the people, like our India also. But the idea that these societies should be organized into nation states came to be accepted as natural and universal. So this idea that how all countries should be together, then only it will be as a nation state, the country will be having the ideas of nation state, came to be accepted natural and universal, and not from the main country of Europe. So this is what we learn here, and I hope all of you have understood it. And it was a long chapter, and please go through the videos one more time. Thank you and bye.